a harmless habit that people don't realize is actually damaging in the long run? Story 1. People-pleasing. If you are more concerned with making sure everyone around you is happy than you are about your own well-being, it will bite you in the. Eventually, you will start to resent people because you will feel that they don't put in as much effort as you do, when in reality, you are just doing too much. Take care of yourself, or you will not be able to truly care for others. Learn early how to set and maintain proper boundaries. Story 2. Negative self-talk. Edit. For anyone who struggles with this, here are a few helpful thoughts. 1. The opposite of negative self-talk isn't always positive self-talk. Sometimes it's just choosing not to moralize it. I did that wrong and will do it differently next time is worlds away from I did that wrong and am a bad person because of it. 2. Educating yourself can make a world of difference. There's a lot of research, but here's a relatively recent study illustrating how negative self-talk might help performance in the short term. But the second link shows how it will actually decrease cognitive function in the brain over time. 3. If you find yourself feeling ashamed because you're lazy, get checked for ADHD. If I can do it, I should, or I'm a bum, sounds like textbook executive dysfunction. A wise woman once said, if you're wondering whether you have executive dysfunction or are just lazy, ask yourself whether you feel ashamed for not doing it. A lazy person feels good when they don't do something they should. 4. Ending negative self-talk isn't not about not thinking negatively. It's about choosing what we do when those thoughts come. I realize there's a lot of baggage in making a biblical reference, but there is some really interesting truth in the idea of taking every thought captive and making it obedient to God. If I haven't lost you yet, the point here is this: we cannot directly control our thoughts. No one can. All we can do is learn to recognize them and choose what to do with them when they come. What's really interesting about this, though, is that the act of choosing how to categorize thoughts can eventually shape the kind of thoughts we have with time. It's like James Clear says in Atomic Habits, we make a vote for the person we are becoming with every action decision. Change doesn't happen overnight, but we can choose to change the way we vote, and with time, we can see greater change than we ever might have expected. 5. Negative self-talk is not effective for learning even if it feels like it. Daniel Kahneman's research around regression toward the mean and thinking fast and slow tells it all. To begin, we must acknowledge there is endless research showing that we learn more from positive reinforcement than negative feedback. With that in mind, many people realize this pattern. If I yell at myself for doing poorly, I get better. If I praise myself for doing well, I get worse. This is, in fact, true in most cases, but it becomes obvious when we think about it. In both cases, the performance was an exception. If a student typically gets a B and they get a C, it's likely that they will do better next time whether you reprimand them or not, because they typically get Bs. The same is true in reverse. An exceptional result, whether good or bad, is, by definition, an exception. This means that, regardless of feedback, the next result will likely regress toward the mean or be closer to average. All that to say, when we beat ourselves up for poor performance, we will typically do better the next time. If we encourage ourselves and celebrate an exceptional success, we'll likely be less successful the next time. The change needs to come in our acknowledgement of this principle and our treatment of ourselves as a result. When we fail, we tell ourselves, this was out of character, and I will do better next time. And when we succeed, we should embrace it and realize we may not achieve this much next time, but it's a step in the right direction, and enough of these successes will eventually improve the bottom line. I know this is a lot, and it's likely that no one will read it, but if you do, please let me know. I've personally been on a journey with this topic for a few years, and these ideas were game changers for me. Wishing everyone the best, please don't be too hard on yourselves. Your inner child doesn't deserve it, and you deserve better. Story 3. Holding in your pee because you're busy at work. Edit love that this has so many upvotes and so many people finding out the perils of holding in their pee. Story 4. Thinking it's polite to avoid hard subjects. Instead, we should learn how to appropriately address those subjects in a variety of settings. Avoiding them lets things that need to be addressed fester and grow. Story 5. Only visiting a healthcare professional if the issue is extreme long-term, persistent, reduces the likelihood of catching serious illnesses in the early stages dramatically if you resist speaking to a doctor until it's crippling. Story 6. Expecting people to treat you the way you treat them. So many people go above and beyond for someone who only associates with them when they want something but never return the favor. Story 7. Constantly saying yes to everything sounds polite and helpful, but over time it drains your energy, builds resentment, and burns you out before you even notice. Story 8. People who continuously choose to sweep things under the rug to keep the peace. No peace is kept that way. It just builds a mountain of resentment until one day it causes irreparable harm to the relationship. whether it's toxicity or indifference. And it makes the person who's willing to work through the issues look like they're the one who can't let things go. People, please learn how to have difficult conversations constructively. Edited typos. Story 9. Eating those last few bites when you're full. It's just a few bites of food, right? It can lead to overeating and teaching your body to expect more food over time. This can lead to an increase in weight and all of the other mental health effects that go with weight gain. Story 10. Financial illiteracy. Not having a budget. Living on credit. Sure, people know it's bad. Those same people still get completely blindsided when they have to face it in adulthood. Story 11. Rushing children. This creates lifelong anxiety problems, and it's backed by research. There's even a name for it. Hurried child syndrome. Parents don't understand how serious this is. Story 12. Jerking off to relieve the tension is one thing, but gooning 4 eggs a day and immediately picturing yourself banging every hot person in sight is not good for the psyche. Story 13. Not stretching. Every day, not necessarily each muscle group in one go, but stretch each muscle group every day, at least 30 seconds. Wherever, whenever you can. Get it in where you fit it in. Waiting for toast? Stretch your chest, shoulder, legs. Assume a horse stance. Something. Stretching is a little bit of a different kind of pain. That prevents a whole lot of pain. Story 14. Losing your fishing lure. This leaves a long trail of plastic monofilament fishing line that entangles wildlife and remains a persistent problem. Scuba diving under popular shore fishing spots looks like a tangled wasteland. Story 15. Eating poorly all the time. Outside of unhealthy weight gain blood work issues, this can also cause some depression, anxiety, difficulty sleeping, lowered immunity, etc. It's always worth investing in healthy food. Story 16. Not cleaning your room. Edit, actually, just make it disorganization in general. I suffer from it. It's a shockingly difficult habit to break, especially since it's often paired with other bad habits. Edit 2. I'm not saying being disorganized is a bad thing necessarily, but it can be when it gets to the point where you have trouble finding things. Plus, it's less efficient in general to be messy. Story 17. Procrastination. Just get into the habit of tackling things head-on. Sincerely, someone with ADHD who thought that the only way I could get things done was to wait last minute. Building habits is important. They're what make you do the thing before you consciously realize you're doing the thing. Story 18. Procrastination when it comes to addressing health issues. If you don't get the problem corrected when you first realize it, it's almost always guaranteed to worsen and become more expensive to treat. Story 19. Declining water. I get migraines, and although it doesn't heal them, it helps so much in the long run. My doctor told me that migraines, when not genetic, are most often started with just not drinking enough water, and then gets bigger from there. Story 20. Letting our feelings be the guide to our actions. If you are constantly feeling anxious, sad, angry, impatient, etc., you will tend to make bad choices. Story 21. Sugary snacking and soda, and all the juices with hidden sugar in them. Diabetes is a terrible, terrible disease. People lose limbs and vision and kidneys to it. ETA. Someone below has talked about obesity being the key contributor to T2DM. They're not wrong, and obesity is a multifactorial disease. But fundamentally speaking, increased intake of sugar beyond recommended limits has a positive correlation with obesity. This is despite calories from fat consumption decreasing. Ultimately, added sugar is still bad for you. Story 22. Junk food. I'm 32F and naturally slim, so would eat a lot of junk food. I've just been diagnosed with high cholesterol and high blood pressure because of my bad diet. Story 23. Pushing hard on a topic someone really doesn't want to talk about. Don't demand that someone relive the most traumatic experience of their life just to settle your curiosity. Story 24. Everything social media. Man, when it came out, if people knew what it would do to the world, they would have killed it at its start. It's too late now. And here comes AI. Get ready. Story 25. Complaining. Watching endless TV. Comparisons against others. It sounds so simple and it's so easy to get into this mindset, but I think a lot of people don't realize our neurons are trained in these habits. So the more we do this, the easier it is to continue doing this. And sometimes life genuinely gives us reasons to complain. I get that. And sometimes TV marathons can be therapeutic. And sometimes it helps to benchmark our lives against others. So see how we're doing. But it shouldn't become habit. It's very risky. It's something I try to stay wary of because we can get into these habits no matter what age we are. Story 26. Be the bigger person. Nope, don't become a villain, but definitely defend your boundaries and do not be taken advantage of. Good for you and for society, teaching thee that their behavior won't be tolerated. Story 27. Sitting is the new smoking. We are not built to sit that much. We need to move. Sincerely, a person who sits about 12 hours a day and spends the rest of it walking slowly, standing, or sleeping, or with some sort of intense activity. Story 28. especially in relationships. Lack of hygiene, especially if you're in a long-term relationship. You're stealing years of happiness and good health in what's supposed to be your golden years with your loved ones by neglecting yourself. Story 29. Selflessness. Sounds like a positive trait, but if you spend a long time putting others' needs and wants above yours while slowly losing all aspect of vanity, it will become impossible later to care about yourself if something happens, and you need to start over, for example. Story 30. Complaining. There is no point complaining about anything, and I've found by not having people in my life who complain, it's pretty amazing. Practice it. If you find yourself wanting to complain about something, stop and think of something you're grateful for and say, or think that instead. Or think of a small action that could improve it and do that. Absolutely life-changing. People complain all the time about everything and think they are venting or it's helpful to their emotional state to complain and let it out. It's not. It's the exact opposite. You're actually making your life one big, unenjoyable complaint where everything because is awful. If you stop complaining, suddenly everything improves and gets easier, especially the things you were complaining about. You can use it on simple and big things. Believe me, if it's raining and it's bothering you, the difference between someone who spends all day saying, ugh, it's raining and thinking, I wish I wasn't raining, versus someone who focuses on the positive of the day or takes a positive action, change because of it is huge. It's truly life-changing and it makes you a much more likable, productive, and happy person. Complaints accomplish nothing. Don't be problem-focused and oriented. Focus on what you do have and solutions. Every time you complain, you are making your life harder for yourself and setting yourself back. And nobody gives a F about all your little problems and wants to listen to you complain about work all the time or the weather or whatever it is. Get over it. It's really a terrible quality and blocks a lot of people's progress and well-being. Story 31. Flicking cigarette butts. It seems like a little piece of trash, but the filter is plastic and it does not biodegrade. Butts are by far the most common litter in the whole world, killing millions of animals who eat them every year. Also, butts flicked from moving cars or by hikers have been known to cause massive wildfires. I'm not here to judge if you smoke, you do you, but find a proper trash can for your butts. Don't make your choice into a punishment for everyone else. Story 32. Getting a little treat when you are feeling down. I was vigilant about never drinking alcohol or smoking marijuana when I upset, because I have an addictive personality. Instead, I would get a little treat instead, whether that was a soft drink or a little ice cream treat or a snack. Turns out food is addictive too. And it's real hard to change your relationship with food because you have to continue to eat. Story 33. Boiling your pasta water with cooking oil added to it. I used to think this was a great idea until I had to clean the vent extractor above my stove and realized it was dripping with oil that had condensed and collected for months. It was very difficult to remove because regular dishwashing soap would not work. The trick turned out to be scrubbing it with baking soda and a little water to make a paste. That was a cleaning chore I never want to have to do again. Story 34. Not necessarily damaging, but rinsing after brushing your teeth is not recommended because it removes the beneficial ingredients in the toothpaste that absorb into and help protect and rebuild your teeth. Story 35. Always saying I'm fine when you're really not. It seems harmless in the moment, but over time, it teaches you to bottle everything up, and sweetie, even soda explodes when you shake it too much. Story 36. Having kids. They drain your emotions, your mind, your bank account. They're adept at biological warfare, consistently introducing new illnesses that will test your immune system and your company's PTO policy. They'll remind you how uncool and old you are and kick you out of their Minecraft worlds for not knowing how to craft a pickaxe. It's all worth it, though. Usually. Story 37. I remember the first time I allowed myself to skip SPF for a day. After that, it started happening pretty often. I think this little weakness can actually cause a lot of damage in the future. Story 38. Scrolling short-form videos. Understanding how the limbic system works, and we all know the buzzwords of dopamine, but it can be extremely damaging to finding joy and dependency for your health. Also your focus. Story 39. Becoming apathetic to politics. Too many people in my orbit said both sides are scum in this last election and refused to vote. Because of that, we are here. Story 40. Staying in the closet. When gay I can't believe after 3 HRs, no one has said this, so I'm adding it. Being gay can come with a lot of shame, and many people delay or never come out. I understand that in many countries, culture or religion will stop you from being able to do this. But if you are in a liberal country with the ability to live independently of family, if they will reject you, then come out. It will be much better in the end. I didn't come out to my mom until my mid-30s, and although it went badly, the relief was instant, and the lies could stop. She never fully accepted it, but that's okay, we still loved each other, and I didn't wave it in her face, but I also didn't let her get away with. So when I was visiting my gay best friend with her, and she asked what fiancé's B name was, I just barked Jim, and let her stew in her own juices for a few minutes. When she cussed camp people on TV, I turned it over and walked out of the room and said, "Better?" As I went, she soon learned that little Dig wasn't gonna wash lol. We were both feisty but stubborn. If you can, be true to who you are. You don't have to change anything else but be the real you, your authentic self. Story 41. Sipping on coffee soda over prolonged periods of time. Anything over half hour will significantly increase risk of cavities. Another one is chewing ice. Your teeth only have so much mileage on them. Do you really want to put unnecessary heavy stress on them daily? Source dentist. Story 42. Using decongestant nose spray for more than a few days. You get rebound congestion and can't breathe through your nose without it, effectively making you an addict. Ask me how I know. Story 43. Stress. I have tried to soldier on through my work-related stress for almost 2 years, and I feel burnout. I should have asked for help earlier, but I kept on giving and giving thinking they will see my value. Story 44. Eating red meat on a regular basis. It'll ruin your heart health. You know the American trope of every old person having heart issues? That doesn't exist in countries that doesn't consume as much red meat as the US does. Story 45. Living a sedentary lifestyle. The human body didn't evolve to function that way. Just getting up and breaking a sweat for 30-45 minutes a day has massive health impacts, physical and mental. There's a reason exercise can be an effective tool to manage things like anxiety and depression in many people in addition to the obvious physical benefits. We aren't meant to sit around under artificial light and do nothing all day, and living that way has massive negative impacts across the board, from heart disease to cognition. Only on Reddit would sitting around all day is bad for you catch downvotes, lol. Story 46. Doom scrolling on their phone. Taking a better check my phone. Brushing my teeth? 2 minutes to scroll through Reddit. Walking across the street and feel the piercing gaze of people in their cars looking at you? Better pretend to text, sitting at a traffic light? Time to see what's new on Instagram. Our brains weren't meant for this kind of activity. If you feel like you have problems remembering things, or you're depressed because you feel like life is flying by around you and you're just existing, or you constantly feel like you aren't good enough because of what you see people doing online, take a break from your phone. I promise your short-term and long-term mental health will improve. Take in life around you instead of looking at a 5-inch brick all day. Bored at home? Instead of scrolling on Instagram in the dark on your couch, sit outside and listen to the birds, walk on grass, take in the sun, go for a walk. I promise you, you will feel better. Story 47. Not jogging a bit every day. Humans are the endurance champions of the planet. We evolved to move. It's not about weight loss or looking good. Every system in your body is going to degrade if you don't stay moving. Your immune system, mental health, body, all of it starts to fade away if you aren't moving every single day. You don't have to be pushing the limits on weightlifting or setting new mile times on a run. Just move every day. Story 48. Setting yourself on fire to keep other people warm. Helping our fellow humans is a vital trait, no doubt, but not to our own detriment. I used to wear myself out helping a cousin who always complained that things were never enough. I would work for free so much that I couldn't do anything else, or work for not enough. Story 49. Saying yes to everything just to avoid conflict or disappointment. Over time, it drains your energy, builds resentment, and chips away at your identity. Story 50. Stressing or wasting any energy on things you can't control. Don't give up and expect things to fix themselves, but needlessly worrying won't fix it either. Also, blowing your nose instead of sniffing. I just learned that last year. Story 51. A friend of mine at school used to wake with an erection each morning and press down on it until it clicked. I don't understand either. Anyway, he wound up with a non-functional, true story. Story 52. Dating people who are obviously not emotionally stable and being around people that don't appreciate you. You don't realize, but your brain gets really messed up from things like that, and it'll show up in ways you won't even realize and make your life so much harder. It's not worth it. I wish I hadn't done the stupid things I did as a teenager because I'd be so much more stable now, but also wish people were just nicer so I hadn't gone through all of it. Story 53. Short-form video content is absolutely obliterating your attention span. Also, over-reliance on AI is ironing out the wrinkles in your brain and robbing you of critical thinking. Story 54. Nose picking. I've always had scabs in my nose and have picked them. Probably should have gotten it checked out. One day, I was picking out a scab and it bled more than usual, and something felt weird, so I kept trying to get out whatever was making it hard to breathe through my nose. Bled and bled and bled. I'm like, oh, what have I done? Yeah, turns out I now have a giant hole in my septum. Surgery to mend it with borrowed flesh is only like 30 successful, and it's considered cosmetic, so it'd be 3,500. 10,000 out of pocket. Story 55. Telling your kid to eat their whole plate and that not doing so is wasteful, mostly when the parents at knowing what portions they should give a child. Sometimes kids don't want to eat. Sometimes they don't want to eat because they are actually truly full. I'm an adult and still feel pressured to eat everything on my plate even when I'm full, because it's just a few more bites, something my mom said all the time, and I don't want to waste it. I have to avidly remind myself that I can do whatever I want. I can stop eating when I'm full. Story 56. Slouching. Not just for your back, but what it silently says about you. It's wild how different people treat you when you just stand up straighter. I fixed mine recently, and people literally started acting like I was more put together even though I didn't change anything else. Story 57. Some bipolar medications. It really is a weighing of two evils. I can choose to either be crazy depressed or eventually become stupid low organ function. Benzodiazepines, gabapentin, valproic acid all cause cognitive decline and possibly seizures upon withdrawal, and lithium destroys 3 major organs. If I don't take something, I have a 1 in 8 chance of suicide. Story 58. Smoking, vaping, weed. There's multiple studies that show it causes hormonal imbalances, can exacerbate depression, prematurely ages the brain, and can be correlated with psychosis. My doctor said it was fine for years, but fortunately I was curious and looked through scientific journals to put my mind at ease. And let's just say that what I found didn't put my mind at ease. Weed-free for 6 months now, feeling much healthier and happier. Story 59. Kids. For the love of God, protect your hearing. I know loud concerts is fun. Playing a great song in the car is fun. Wearing earbuds to a concert or using machinery may not seem cool, but neither is tinnitus or needing hearing aids at 40. Protect your hearing. There aren't many remedies for these issues, especially tinnitus. Story 60. Negative self-talk. It may not seem like it, but constantly shitting on yourself in your head will grind you down and have a major impact on your outlook and how the world receives you. It sounds dumb, but start talking yourself up instead. Just a little at first and you'll notice a difference. Story 61. Taking care of yourself. It took me 20 years, and watching my dad die from alcoholism, before I realized that the decisions I made in my 20s had a direct effect on my 30s. The decisions I'm making in my 30s will impact my life in the 40s et al. Now is the time to look after my body, look after my skin, prioritize sleep, get the exercise my body needs, and do whatever it takes to ensure I'm as healthy as I can be. Changing perception too. Instead of negatively thinking about exercising, oh, I can't be bothered, I now see it as I have the opportunity to strengthen my body. I get to exercise. I get to walk my dogs. I get to live a life I always dreamed of. I suffered with ill mental health for so long that it became part of my identity to always see things negatively. I somehow managed to pull myself out of the pit of despair, and now I see things with fresh eyes. Story 62. Whenever I want to save, I always remind myself to clear my credit card debt first. I remember watching a vid on saving that said, paying off your debts is another form of saving. Story 63. Weed. 100. I go through phases of smoking for months and not at all. It eats away at my money, makes me gain a lot of weight. Even when I know it doesn't make me feel any better, I still do it regardless.